Hello, gunfighters, and welcome to Gunfighter Life, the podcast where we talk about gunfighting and gun-related stuff the right way with God at the center. Gonna try something a little bit different. You guys are probably familiar if you've listened for any length of time. The Better Know a Cartridge episodes. They're kind of short episodes on a pretty particular topic, so I think I'm gonna forego the lengthy bio. Try to abbreviate it. First and foremost, I am a Christian. That is number one in my life, serving God, following Jesus. Combat veteran, served in the United States Marine Corps and the Army. Also law enforcement veteran, private contractor, state rifle and pistol champion. Pretty succinct. You want to support? Go to Patreon. Should be a link in the show notes. Boom. Let's get into the day's cartridge. So, ladies and gunfighters, what's the cartridge today? The 458 S.O.C.O.M. The modern day Warhammer, at least as far as AR-15s are concerned. There are more common big bore AR calibers, 450 Bushmaster. There are bigger big bore AR calibers, 50 Beowulf. But the 458 S.O.C.O.M has S.O.C.O.M in the name, so come on, it's got to be better, right? Now, this Better Know a Cartridge was a Patreon request, and I respect my patrons. And that patron asked me earlier today, how does the 458 S.O.C.O.M compare to the 308 and the 223 ballistically? I'm going to read you my response. The 458 is a freight train, boutique cartridge, big heavy bullet for car engines, close-in shooting. 223 is an intermediate, low recoil, easy firing round developed from a varmint cartridge, 55 grain at 3,200 feet a second. The 308 is a proper full power rifle cartridge, 150 grain at 2,800 feet a second. And that's how I responded, and we had some more back and forths. If you want to get into gun chat like that, become a patron. If you want to contact me, you don't want to become a patron, go to goodshepherdtraining.com. Anyway, the 458 S.O.C.O.M is very much a boutique, very niche cartridge. And people that love it will say, oh, it can do this, it can do that, it can slice, it can dice. It's the Swiss Army knife multi-tool, because they love the cartridge. And what's that saying? If all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. Perhaps if everything you have is a sledgehammer, then everything looks like a railroad spike. But not everything is. I'll get into some uses. First, let's look at some history and some numbers. Per Wikipedia, and remember, by the testimony of 2 or 3 witnesses, a matter is established. So verify this. I have no idea if this is true or not. Don't take Wikipedia with a grain of salt, right? But it says Troy Ramore of Troy Mix designed the cartridge in 2000, and Troy Mix was contracted to build the first rifle, .458 S.O.C.O.M rifle, in February 2001. Now, this parent case is a 50 Action Express. You might be familiar with that from the Desert Eagle fame, 50 Action Express. Unless I'm mistaken, it is the most powerful handgun, semi-automatic handgun caliber. Anyway, so that's the parent case. They neck it to 458, not 452. We might get into that later, but that's kind of important. These are Wikipedia loadings. This cartridge is so new, I did not find it in the cartridges of the world that I have. So you're talking 50 Action Express necked down. Here are the loadings per the Wikipedia numbers. 250 at 2150. 300 at 1900. And a 600 grain at 1000. Now 1000 feet a second, if that doesn't ring any bells, that's right around the speed of sound, so that round should be subsonic. 600 grain at 1,000 feet a second. 600 grains is a beefy bullet. So real quick, I'm going to give you some rough numbers. 250 at 2150, 300 at 1900, and 600 at 1,000. You compare that to some rough numbers I'm going to pull out of my head that are not exact. 55 grain at 3,200, a common 223 loading, and 150 grain at 2,800, a common 308 loading. You'll see that it's not really comparable other than it's a rifle cartridge, right? But it's a very niche thing. It's a big, heavy, even in the lighter loadings, it's a big, heavy, 250 grain bullet at moderate velocities to very slow velocities. Not even really comparable to the 300 Blackout. The 300 Blackout, you're talking a 220 grain for your subsonic at right around the speed of sound. This, you're talking a 600 grain bullet at right around the speed of sound. Well, more should be better, right? America, more power, Tim the Toolman Taylor. Not necessarily, for the same reason that military went away from 308 to 5.56. Power to weight ratio is higher. You can carry a lot more ammo. The ammo for that is heavy. Not only that, but you turn your AR into a single stack operation. Think of it kind of like turning your Glock 19 into a 1911. You're going from double stack high capacity to single stack low capacity. And you're getting a lot of weight. Again, it's a niche cartridge in my opinion. It's called the 458 S.O.C.O.M. I don't know if S.O.C.O.M ever actually adopted or used it. To me, this is a very niche cartridge. So what are those special uses? Really, two come to mind. You're talking, maybe three, but two practical ones. And one that's probably the most common that's not practical. Let's say you want to take out an engine block. You're a private contractor, you're in the military, whatever. For some unforeseen scenario, you get one of these uppers with the actual ammo overseas. And you're trying to stop vehicle-borne IEDs, somebody charging through your barricade with a vehicle with a bomb in it, and you need to stop that car, that engine. And you want to do that in an AR platform because for whatever reason you don't have a 240 or a M2 50 cal machine gun mounted anywhere on your post, which seems like a bad idea. But if all you have is the AR and you just happen to have this rifle and this ammo, to be better at stopping a charging vehicle, a vehicle-borne IED, a vehicle ramming situation than would a 223. Certainly would be better for that, at least round for round. A 600 grain monolithic bullet or a 600 grain, really any kind of decent constructed bullet is going to do a lot more damage. The other one, if you were going to use this for dangerous game, right? And for whatever reason you were married to the AR. We're going to be a salmon guide in Alaska, and instead of taking something I would consider more practical, you're just dead set on the AR is the only rifle for you. To be fair, maybe you were in the military and the AR is the only rifle you've ever fired. It's the only rifle you're familiar with. And you want that rifle, that pattern, those ergonomics, those controls, and you want a round that can stop a grizzly bear. Well, there you go. Those are two very niche applications I could see for this. Will it kill a deer? Certainly it will. But so will a 6.8 SPC or a 6.5 Grendel, or I think the much more common 450 Bushmaster. On that note, the 450 Bushmaster is fairly comparable. It uses .452 caliber bullets, both 45 caliber. But why is that important? Well, I think that 452 caliber, your 45 ACP, things like that, is a far more common bullet weight than the 4.58s. And the 458 Bushmaster is chambered in quite a few rifles, bolt actions. It's just more available, I think. And if you're trying to shoot a medium to large game animal, does it really matter if you hit that railroad spike with a 10-pound sledge or a 12-pound sledge? Not really. What I think is probably the more common and not practical reason for owning this is a guy loves ARs and he just wants something cool. He wants something to take to the range with his buddies and shoot water jugs, or just show up at the range with something cool to let his buddies shoot. And hey, there's nothing wrong with that. If that's you and you've got the money and you earned it, you want to spend your money on it and have a really cool boutique sledgehammer of a round in an AR, if that appeals to you, hats off, do it, run with it. So there you have it, men, the 458 S.O.C.O.M. If you cannot decide whether you want to be a cowboy with a 4570, with mutton chops and a horse, or a modern-day operator with a full grizzly beard, and a plate carrier fighting Somali pirates, you want to mix those things all together, could get yourself a 458 S.O.C.O.M. It is a pretty cool niche round. In my thought process, spending all that money, getting the upper, the optic, everything to turn your AR into something that'll shoot 12 gauge slugs without any of the flexibility of being able to fire all the other shot that makes the 12 gauge so versatile and flexible. If you look at a 1 ounce slug, which is pretty common, it's 400 and something grains, 437 maybe. That's 400 and something grains at 1600 feet a second. And that's just a basic slug you can get at Walmart. Nothing special. Grandpa might have hunted with them. Look at the ballistics on that and look at the ballistics of a 458 S.O.C.O.M. If you want one, cool. But, what is that practically doing for you that a 12 gauge shotgun with slugs is not doing? And I'd venture to say for the price of an upper, you could get a really nice complete shotgun. All the versatility that goes along with it. You can shoot buckshot, you can shoot birdshot. You probably could shoot a dove with a 458 S.O.C.O.M if you could hit it in the air. That'd be a pretty good shot, but you might want to eat it afterwards. I can put birdshot in that 12 gauge. And that's just a regular, kind of run-of-the-mill. I looked up a pretty basic federal 1 ounce slug. All kinds of exotic and specialty slugs for deep penetration and things like that. Anyway, those are my thoughts. If you want a 458 S.O.C.O.M, it's a cool round. I won't deny that. If you want to support the podcast, Patreon should be a link in the show notes. If you want to ask me a question, contact me, goodshepherdtraining.com. Tactical verse of the day, one of my favorites. Exodus 15. The Lord is a man of war. With that, men, thanks for listening and have a blessed day.